Welcome to Impact Farming, where we introduce you to the people and ideas that will have a massive impact on your farming operation. Brought to you by Farm Marketer. Sit down, start the engine, and let's roll with today's show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Impact Farming Show. Today, we have the amazing Liz Robertson from CAFA, Canadian Association of Farm Advisors. How are you, Liz?
I'm doing great, Tracy. Thanks for inviting me today.
I am so happy to have you on the show. I've known you for many years, worked with you guys, have attended events. So I'm happy to have Liz on the show today. And what we're going to be talking about is finding farm business advisors. So Liz will dive in. She'll share more about CAFA. But really, the purpose of this episode is to share a little bit more about CAFA as a resource. And us farm business management people are always saying, build your team of professionals, your accountants, your lawyers, all that good stuff. If you're looking for people, CAFA's the place. So on that note, Liz, why don't you tell our audience a little bit more about you and CAFA?
Okay, well, I guess I first came across CAFA. I used to be in the farm advisory business. I was a farm advisor years ago. And I was invited to write some articles on farm succession for CFIB years ago, and ended up getting invited to a CAFA meeting. And so was one of the founding members of CAFA when we started in Manitoba back in 2001.
Okay, that's fantastic. I don't think I even knew that. You might have told me years ago, but that's really neat. I didn't realize all that history. So do you want to share a little bit more about CAFA and what you guys do?
For sure. CAFA started with Manitoba agriculture with a woman named Donna Hastings. She was very much involved in farm transition, one of the early pioneers in, looking at the issue of farm transition, all the problems it might create, the family issues, etc. And her and Howard Moore, who's a lawyer with Pitt Lato, developed something called the Family Farm Business Advisor Manual.
Okay.
And it had volunteer contributors from Manitoba, and it was multidisciplinary, and it told you all different kinds of things about farm business in Manitoba. And this is it for Manitoba.
Oh, wow.
So, anyways, over the years, as advisors bought this and referred to it, they had annual conferences, and they'd get together, and the advisors said, why don't we start doing this on a regular basis in our build local chapters? So we'd have one in Winnipeg, we'd have one in Brandon, meeting in Steinbach, different chapters, and started in Manitoba. And then Donna Hastings, I was asked to start with CAFA, and I was starting with marketing, I guess it was. And then Donna moved to the States with her husband. She asked if I would take over CAFA as executive director, and I did. And as Donna was leaving, we were already making a push to go nationally. So we went national.
Wow.
And so I guess starting with the Farm Business Advisor Manual, that huge thing in 1995, to being incorporated as a nonprofit in 2001, to starting chapters in 2001, 2002, to where we are now. 20 years later, we go from BC right through to PEI.
Good job, Liz. You are a force to be reckoned with. Wow. That's some really neat history. So you guys have, and I guess maybe I'm focused on this episode from the farmer end, because that's the majority of our audience, but we do have farm professionals that tune in. So maybe let's speak to that. For farmers, I'll ask you that question right away. If they're looking to connect with farm advisors, what type of individuals can they connect with through CAFA and through the website? Is that where you want to go? Is that a good starting place?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
CAFA is a national nonprofit organization. So we're member funded. We're not a division of the government. We're not subsidized by the government at all. Okay. Our members include farm advisors and people providing guidance to farm families and businesses. And it's an umbrella organization for those individuals. So we've got farm management consultants, we've got family coaches, we've got accountants, we've got lawyers, we've got realtors, we've got appraisers, we've got market risk managers, and almost everything in between. the point is, like I say, they're professionals providing advice and guidance to farm families and businesses. And interestingly, the majority of our members have a personal connection to the farm.
Okay.
They came from a farm, their spouse farms, or they still farm. It's kind of odd to ask an accountant, in May or June, when, your busy time is over, even though they're busy all the time now, but when their busy time is over, would you like to be able to give a presentation in May? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm still seeding. So these guys are full-time accountants, full-time lawyers, full-time financial planners, and they still farm full-time. So they've got a real passion for it. And they understand the business because they're in it, where they come from.
Yes. And, I think in agriculture, that's pretty common. As farmers, you want to work with people that understand you. And yes, accounting's accounting. And I'm sure any accountant can help you out, but there's something different about working with somebody that has boots on the ground, that grew up in farming, that farms, that still has that strong connection. And really, that's why I wanted to bring you on and talk about CAFA, because for me, I'm a pretty, I'd say, closed book kind of person, even though I do this show. I like confidentiality. It's a little bit vulnerable to reach out to people like accountants and lawyers. It can be intimidating, right? And if you're reaching out to somebody that has farmed, it just kind of bridges that gap and makes it a little bit more comfortable. And that's, as you know, Liz, in a lot of our episodes, we talk to advisors that are CAFA members. We give you a shout out. And I said, hey, well, why don't we talk to Liz herself and dive into CAFA advisors and that type of thing. So that's why I wanted to chat, because we're always screaming at the top of our lungs, find a farm advisor, but where do we do that? So, okay, that's fantastic. So any type of professional pretty much that a farmer would want to use for the farm, they can find it on CAFA. You guys have a directory by province, right?
Yeah, we've got an online directory, and we also have a publication that goes out every year. But I want to just add something quickly.
Please.
I think understanding and knowing farms because you come from a farm is huge in terms of credibility, being an advisor. All advisors are required to maintain confidentiality. I mean, even if they're your neighbor, they've got to maintain that confidentiality. That's part of their business. And we do have advisors that come in that don't come from a farm, but we feel it is part of our job as an association to raise the level of farm knowledge, like raise all boats. So we have the chapter meetings that happen on a regular basis in our I guess, farm updates that are provincially annually. And that is an educational opportunity for farm advisors. So, you come from a farm, you still farm, you've got to get your continuing professional development and credits just to keep your license, to keep working and practicing. You're in your office, stuff's going on out in the farm. How do you hear about it? You come to chapter meetings, you go to CAFA conferences, and you can get updates to keep you current, and you make the connections and networking to keep you connected.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for sharing that. So kind of going back to that note again, being a farmer and a business person myself, it can be a little bit overwhelming, uncomfortable, reaching out to people and sharing your financials, your accounting details, getting a lawyer involved. Can you talk a little bit? Do you want to chat about that a little bit? I don't know whether you want to give some feedback from farmers, some different stories you've heard from CAFA advisors, but sometimes as farmers, we're business owners. We want to do it all on our own, right? That's the nature of an entrepreneur. Oh, I'll just file my own taxes. Oh, this. Can you speak to the value of building a farm management team, whether that's small that you just reach out, or you're a bigger operation and you have multiple people on call? Do you want to take that where you want to and maybe just chat about that connection?
I think everybody agree and recognize how incredibly diverse agriculture is in Canada, number one. And I guess how much incredibly more complex it's become. Taxes, obviously, marketing, obviously. Now you're dealing at a global level. Weather is always an issue. Now we've got all kinds of new innovations and technology coming along. I think people have to realize that you cannot, I guess I said in a recent article, farmers are famous for being early adopters of technology.
Okay.
But they're also acknowledged as kind of being a jack of all trades.
Yes.
And so that puts them in a kind of unique conundrum because you just can't be everything, especially as stuff is coming at us, the speed is coming at us in terms of change.
Yeah.
So I think it comes a time where you have to say, I'm definitely going to delegate. I'm going to delegate the machinery to the guy I hired who actually understands tractors. I can, okay, maybe I can change you out, but I can't fix anything else, especially now that it's all electronic and computer driven. I'm delegating that out. Taxes are becoming pretty complicated, especially as farm sales increase and the values of farm increase in terms of transfers and farm transitions. Delegate to an accountant. It's the same as delegating to somebody to decide on what's the best or what crops should grow, right? It's delegating. And I think it's really important, especially if it's an investment. When you delegate to your accountant, the things you delegate to an accountant, lawyer, you've got to have the right people doing the right job because not everybody can have all the skill sets.
Well, and it's neat. Usually once you find your professionals, I have my team of professionals now. And heaven forbid when they retire, that just drives me nuts. One of them retired on me. And then it's like losing a trusted person, right? Because they have all that history with you and everybody can step in and take their place. And I have a fantastic new guy, but I have bought and sold land this year. And it's as easy as shooting them a quick email and saying, hey, I think I'm buying this 160. Here's the price. Do I buy it personally? Do I buy it in a corp? What do I do? I'm selling. What are the tax implications? And it's just having that quick relationship versus just selling or buying. And then after the accountant goes, well, why didn't you talk to me? If you had done this, you would have saved this, right? So it's not, once we get ourselves over that hump and have our people, it's easy. It's quick. Hey, so-and-so question, right?
Yeah, it's like any team. There's got to be trust.
Yeah,
and there has to be communication. And I think you can go back to almost any presentation we've ever had, any topic we've ever covered in the last 20 years. I must have done hundreds of conferences, and the main theme running through them is not so much farming and agriculture as communication. That's just solid through everything.
Isn't that the story of life to begin with?
Yeah.
Like business, isn't it? Oh my.
Yeah, so that's the relationship you have to have with your advisor. You've got to have that trust.
Yeah.
And then obviously you've got to have the right person for the right task that you need them for. And then you build that trust and then you have a relationship. And when they retire, yes, that is a bit of an issue because just like everybody else, the age is getting older.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of gray hair in any room we go to here. But they've got a mentor, I guess, somebody to come in and hopefully you like your advisor's replacement.
Well, and that's the thing too. And maybe touch on that. My brain was starting to go there right before you said it is, I don't think just like people and relationships, we're not a one size fits all. We all have our match, our connection. And sometimes personalities sometimes don't align, right? I had an amazing woman here in Manitoba. I was dragging her out of retirement. Every time I'm like, no. And I won't say her name, but I'm like, just one more question because I trust her so much. Right. Yeah. And then she weaned me off slowly and we got one in there and it wasn't quite a strong enough farm fit. And then they just helped transition me to another person that fit my media company and my farming corporation. Right. So it's not always a one size fits all. And maybe that's a good thing with CAFA too. There's a directory of people. You can reach out, connect, right?
Yeah, we have that online directory for sure. And again, my experience when I was in the advisory business, when I just got into it, I had a senior advisor shuffle me off a couple of clients that he didn't like working with. And we had a great relationship.
Okay.
So for sure, there's going to be different personalities that fit together and, work together, obviously. What was that last question you asked? Sorry.
I was just going to say, where do we want to go, Liz? There's always so many different places we can take the conversation. So, farmers, you talk to the advisors a lot, so maybe we'll touch on that. But if someone is interested in connecting with a farm advisor, can you just share a little bit more about your website, how they get to the directory and that good stuff?
Okay, well, our website is cafanet.ca. I think it's Canadian Association of Farm Advisors Network. I think that's what the net stands for. Anyway, under advisor listing, the advisors are listed provincially, and then they're listed locally. Now, most advisors will have a provincial license for the whole province. They're not restricted to, let's say, Edmonton or Calgary. They can cover all of Alberta. And some advisors are interprovincially licensed, so they, might be located in Manitoba, but have business happening in Saskatchewan or BC. So ask the advisor when you're speaking with them. I guess they'll tell you that in the first place. But you can find advisors there. You can call the CAFA office. You can email the CAFA office, explain what you're looking for, and we'll try to help narrow it down. And remember, when you're talking to an advisor, initially, I think you're interviewing them for the fit.
Yes.
Yeah, you can find, like I say, there's Google farm advisors, and you'll probably come up with thousands that aren't members of CAFA. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you want somebody who definitely has the experience and the knowledge that you're looking for, the personality that you get along with, somebody you feel you can trust. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, those are great final words of wisdom. You shared the CAFA website, how to access farm advisors. I think we covered it all. Do you have anything else, any final words of wisdom you want to add, or we can wrap it up at that point? Because I've covered everything that I want to ask you. Really, you're the gal that runs CAFA, and you guys are the organization for farm advisors right across Canada. So when I'm in every episode saying, hey, go to CAFA, check it out, I'm like, why don't I have Liz on to share a little bit more? So I've asked you everything I want to cover. If you have anything else to add, you can go ahead and do so. Otherwise, we will wrap her up.
Well, I just want to add another thing. Sure. We do have interested farmers as members as well.
Okay.
Their fee is significantly reduced from every other member.
Okay.
The other thing I'd like to say is, like you say, it was a little intimidating sometimes to pick up the phone and talk to an accountant or talk to a lawyer and share your information. Like I say, you're interviewing them.
Yes.
And I know some of these people, and I've known a lot of them for a long time. And they're super nice. And it might just be the fact that they've got that farming background that, don't worry about it. They're there for you. That's what they're there for.
You know what? I find I am partial because I grew up in farm families like my grandparents, and I farm now. And you know what? There's great people in every industry, but I do love agriculture, and all the farm advisors I interview, meet with, go to meetings with as well. It's just great people, right? Yeah. I think something to be said when you have your boots in the dirt, it just gives you a bit of a different perspective, and not trying to be a farm snob, but it's just different. It's a community and we understand each other. And really at the core of this episode and the message was bringing you so that our audience knows about CAFA and the fact that there are individuals right across Canada that know farming and are there to help you succeed. So I'm super happy to have you on the show. Okay. If you have no further thoughts, we have all the time in the world, Liz. So if you have anything else you want to add, go ahead. If not, we will wrap her up.
Just one final comment.
Oh, good.
It seems to me, I've had several conversations lately, and it all comes down to how can we work together? How can we make this organization that's a little bit divergent from what you are, different from what you are, and you guys, how do we make it work? And what do we have in common? What we have in common is we've got a really small industry in agriculture in Canada, but we're all working towards the same goal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What are we? We're 2% of the population. Small and mighty part of the population, that's for sure. Okay, Liz. So one last time, what's the website?
It's cafanet.ca.
Okay, perfect.
And email is info@cafanet.ca as well. And if you've got any questions, I can answer them by email as well. But anyways, I want to thank you very much, Tracy, for having us on Impact Farming.
You are very welcome. It is well overdue having you on the show. So thanks for joining us, Liz. I really appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome. In the audience, if you are a farmer, make sure to build up your team of professionals. And I've been working with CAFA for many, many, many years now, and there is just a gold mine at your fingertips. So go visit that website, find your province, look around, and you know what? Just extract the knowledge from all these professionals that are the best in their fields that can come together and really help your farming operation be successful. So if you like this episode, like it, share it, get it out there so other farmers can hear about CAFA and the great work that they're doing as well. Thanks, guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Impact Farming. For more great episodes and articles designed to help you manage and grow your farming operation, head on over to farmmarketer.com. Don't forget to sign up while you're there. We will see you on the next episode.